are going to try recording, I think, from this angle. So I have my 2 bowls here to separate my eggs, egg whites from egg yolks, and I will need, here's a 3rd bowl. Actually, I'll put egg yolks in that one because I need one of the bowls to melt the chocolate. So I got this recipe. This is a 2-ingredient chocolate cake. I got this recipe from One Pot Chef, David out there. Shout out to him. Hey, and he says 300 grams. Everything's metric in us down under in Australia, I guess. It's approximately equivalent to about 10 ounces. Using the semi-sweet chocolate chips. And then you melt these in the microwave just in 30-second increments, stirring in between so that they don't burn. So I'm going to just pop these into the microwave really quick for the first 30 seconds. And I will watch those. And in the meantime, I'm going to separate my eggs. Going to put the whites in this container, this larger bowl, so that I can actually whip them into a meringue. I'm going to put my yolks in this smaller container here. Oh, I dropped the yolk into there. No big deal. I'll just retrieve that. 1, 2, 3. I saw this trick using a water bottle to separate the yolks from the egg whites. My husband doesn't see a need for that when you can just use the shell like that, but I tend to, I don't know if you can see in here, but I tend to get little bits of shell. I got that out in there, and a little bit of the egg yolk went in there. Hopefully that won't affect the meringue. I don't know if you can see it or not there at the left. But we will just fix that when the time comes. Here's my chocolate chips. You can see they're not melted yet. They should just be warmed on the bottom a little bit. So I'm going to give those a good stir. And then pop them back into the microwave for another 30 seconds. In the meantime, I am going to get my hand mixer out, since we will be whipping those egg whites. And David over at One Pot Chef made this in a 7-minute video. I will maybe have to cut and paste mine. It takes a little bit longer than 7 minutes to make it. You can see the chocolate's just now starting to melt a little bit there at the bottom of the bowl. You give that another stir. And then pop it back in the microwave for another 30 seconds. So I know you can only see 2 egg yolks, but that's actually 4 egg yolks in there. 2 of them broke. I'm gonna put the rest of my eggs away back in the fridge now. I like to clean up as I go. Try to keep the mess to a minimum that way. Oh, and you can see our chocolate now has gotten to be really nicely melted. There's a couple of chocolate chips still in here, but once we give this a stir, it's all melting in there. Get a little bit of chocolate that had been left on the spoon melted in there too. That is just beautiful. I how well. Okay. I don't know how well you can see the chocolate. I have a kind of a backlight from the window, but it's a nice gooey. And then what we do is we add the egg yolks approximately one at a time. Since a couple of them broke, it'll probably be a little more, a little less. But just add the egg yolk into this chocolate and stir that in thoroughly between adding each one. So you're just adding that egg yolk into the chocolate mixture here. And the chocolate is starting to thicken up a little bit again. Add a second egg. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of this egg. So I've done the 4 eggs in 3 parts pretty much. Got about, I think, an egg and a half with each addition, approximately. I'm just going to mix that into my chocolate, and the chocolate's thickening up again, as you can see. And I am just going to set this. That's okay that it's getting a little thicker and coagulated again, because we're going to mix the egg whites into a meringue, and then we're going to fold that meringue into this chocolate here, and then it will be more batter consistency again. Okay, so we're just going to set this aside. And then we're going to take our egg whites here, and we're going to just whip them, whip them, whip them. Okay, let's see how that's formed a nice peak. So you just whipped those whites into meringue, and then we are just going to fold it into our chocolate in thirds. So I am going to get my spatula here. And just put about a third of this meringue mixture into this chocolate. And then we want to just turn the chocolate over. We don't want to whip it or beat it. We just want to fold this meringue into it really nicely so that it keeps that air from the meringue into the cake batter. Now this is not going to be a light and airy cake. It's going to be a little bit denser of a cake, but it is the meringue that actually kind of does the magic that makes it into a cake batter instead of a chocolate omelet. I don't know if you can see how well this is mixing in here, but we got the consistency is changing again of the chocolate. Got a little bit hardened again, and now it's changing back into a batter consistency. We're just going to keep folding this meringue, egg white mixture. I say meringue, but I think a true meringue has sugar in it, doesn't it? I don't know. The egg white peaks mixture. Some of this chocolate had hardened a little bit onto this spoon. I'm just going to try to get that mixed in, and the rest of this egg white in this bowl. See if I can mix that in a little bit better. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside really quick. While I get my pan out, my baking pan, I should have been ready with this. I think this is an 8-inch springform pan that I'm using. I actually don't think I've ever used this before. So I'm going to take my parchment paper and trace along the bottom of this pan onto my parchment paper, and then just cut out a parchment circle for the bottom of this pan. And that traces very, very, very lightly. Hopefully you'll be able to follow it. And I also have not preheated my oven because I forgot at what temperature it's supposed to be. I remember it not being in the usual temperature that I recall baking cakes at, but that could just be because I get confused since he uses Celsius temperatures instead of Fahrenheit temperatures. So it doesn't never sound right to me. Okay, and then we just line the bottom of our pan with our parchment paper here. And then we're going to just pour our batter into our pan here. And I maybe could have melted this chocolate just a little bit longer. I think it's a little lumpy because it was starting to cool off a little too quickly while I was beating my egg whites. But that's okay. We'll see how it turns out. It turned out really, really good the first time, and just I can't imagine it not turning out good. It's a kind of a denser cake, but it is crummy like a cake. It crumbs up like a cake, and you wouldn't think so since there's no flour in it, but it does. It's just interesting. And if your chocolate chips are gluten-free or made in a place without, you know, a factory without nuts, so you would want to double check your chocolate. But if you have gluten-free chocolate chips and eggs, then this is a gluten-free cake. And so, let me see here. I am going to pause this video, or actually I'm going to stop this video to check the temperature and preheat my oven. And then I'll pop this in the oven and come back later.